Right now in the world, I see no one discussing these issues unless they are actually involved with it, or as you say, they live the experience. So, if I'm a young boy or I'm a young teen growing up and I'm questioning my identity and I go to look for help out there in the world and all I see is people who aren't like me, so as you mentioned, XYY or XXYY or gay or trans or whatever people want to label themselves nowadays, if all I saw is people out there in the world discussing and telling me the thoughts that are going on in their head, maybe I would have never become the man I aspired to be. Because I'm listening to people who are not like me. I would have been wasting precious, prime periods of my life debating trivial things amongst myself rather than going out there in the world and accomplishing by building skills and knowledge. When the next generation goes to question their gender identity and their sexual orientation, they should have the ability to formulate their opinions from many different viewpoints and perspectives, not just a small minority who may be hormonally depleted to go along with it. Such a close-minded way of thinking. You are not like me, so you don't get to talk about me. Go back to grade 4, bud. Alright, what is going on, world? Today I want to do a little responding to comments YouTube video here. I received a personal and private message about a month or actually 2 months ago here, so I kind of want to discuss this message and I want to discuss my comment in return to him. So this video might be a little long here, but if you guys are interested, I really suggest checking it out and continuing on with the video because he left me a pretty big message here, and this all stems from the video I made about gender identity and how, you know, in our modern day society, these kids growing up, I believe a big reason they're questioning their sexuality and their gender so much is one, because we now have the option to change your sexuality, which is something that we didn't have in the past. You didn't just have this ability to undergo surgery and undergo this hormone replacement therapy and be able to change your identity and to change your gender. Along with that, a lot of this generation that is currently growing up, they are hormonally depleted. So when they get into this aspect of life, when they reach this time in this stage in their life when their hormones are being activated and it's making them question a lot of things about their own lives, that they are now questioning it a lot more than they should because their hormones are so depleted that these effects that they're having, if let's say you are a woman and you have very low hormonal output, you're gonna possibly be getting high levels of testosterone, or you might be getting weird hormone fluctuations that is making you question who you really are and what is going on in your body. So this guy sent me this message here and I want to show you guys my response to it and why there's some people out there that they think that their opinions matter and that just because you're displaying your opinion that they have a right to tell you their opinion on top of it. I am all up for having a discussion, having having an exchange of ideas, but this guy wants to totally change the subject matter. He wants to totally just try to make me look like the bad guy. So I want to take you through this here because in the future, if I do have the opportunity to go out there and have sit-down discussions with people in the world, I'm gonna call you out on your bullshit if I think you're full of shit. If you are just trying, if there's no actual exchange of ideas, you just want to perpetuate your closed-minded way of thinking, I'm going to try to call you out on that. So this is the start of that. This is my whole journey through life here is I want to challenge people out there in the world. I want to get in people's faces. I want to make people question their own lives and question the factors that affect them in their own bodies. So let's jump into this right here. This is from James A. Lancaster, and 2 months ago he sent me this private message saying, "Hey Peter, I understand that you are trying to be authentic and helpful, but I think you may be missing a few larger points that are harder to grasp for those who do not have some gender or sexual identity that goes against the mainstream. You are totally legit to have an opinion on this, but I think you should consider that your opinion is not fully informed because you don't live that experience. I'm sorry, having an opinion is that. I am informed upon my own life and my own thing, and that's what makes me have an opinion. You trying to inform me, you trying to show me something else, it might change my opinion on that subject, but just because you have your opinion and you want to display that, that doesn't mean it's going to make me change mine. I have probably heard your opinion from several other versions and several other representations out there in the world, or else I wouldn't be talking, I wouldn't be discussing this subject matter. So I agree that there are definitely people out there in the world who just love to talk and talk about things that they don't know about, things that they don't experience, and they want to share that opinion with the world. But I don't talk about things unless I've done the research, unless I've seen many other human examples out there in the world of people who represent that. So I'm not going to call question to people who are questioning their sexual identity and their genders if I didn't feel I had something to display upon this. But I agree, if you feel that you can inform me more, then definitely do that. But just because you have an opinion doesn't mean that I'm going to have to change mine now. So he said, simply saying I do not understand this would go a long way. I'm not trans, but I am LGBT. I can totally understand a society that assumes you are one thing when you don't feel that way at all. Gender identity and sexual orientation are two sides of the same coin. Different to society, but the same in some of the personal revelations. You are right to question that diet and lifestyle are causing more gender and sexual minorities. I think it's an incorrect correlation, but it's perfectly fine to ask. However, even assuming that it is the cause, I don't think it is useful to marginalize people as lesser or broken because of something they can't do anything about. And this is what I'm saying. Everything I discussed in that video is things that you can change about yourself. Your hormones, your hormonal output are all things I'm displaying on my YouTube channel, are things you can change by simply tweaking little things in your life, like the window that you eat your food in. You can eat the same amount of foods, the same type of shitty foods, but if you put it down into a smaller eating window, so if you change something about your life, about your lifestyle that you can actually make a change to, you can greatly increase your hormones. Same thing with weightlifting, same thing with physical exercise, same thing with your sleep. Everything I've discussed in that video is things that you or other people can change about their lives that can greatly increase their hormonal production. So you right there, this is where you're talking about something that I am not discussing. I am not talking about people who can't change things about themselves, and I even mentioned that in the video. I understand there are people out there in the world who are seriously and actually affected by this, but the majority of people out there who are trying to identify with genders, they just have a very low hormone output, and if they actually change things about their life, they actually put some effort into their life, into their lifestyle, they could greatly change that and change their outlook about the world. So he is saying, it is no individual's fault that they are LGBT, and discriminating, even just in language, against them does nothing except make their own lives worse. And as I said there, I am not discussing people who are gay. I'm not discussing people who are lesbian or who are transsexual. I am calling out the people who are trying to identify with another gender. Identifying with a different gender has nothing to do with the sexual orientation you were born into. I understand that there are people who are gay from birth and they don't discover that till they're about 12 to 14 until they actually start experimenting and trying new things out with their life. And that is fine. Go do that. But making other people have to call you a he or a she because you are still not sure with what you're doing with your life, or having to call you is or ziz or zat, or calling me sis is completely off the mark and has nothing to do with what you're discussing here. And I am not discriminating against anyone by voicing my opinion and saying that I think that you can change your opinion about yourself and about the world just by changing your hormonal production has nothing to do with you being a homosexual or someone else out there being transsexual or anything like that. I'm talking about these people who have no idea about how they feel about the world, so they want other people to identify them as different. They want a special status out there in the world. They want to be called something different. So he continues on to say, your perspective to help is missing the mark. There's nothing to help with LGBT people. And I agree, which is why I didn't discuss that. The title of that video is My True Gender Identity. It's about people who are trying to identify with genders, not with people who are actually gay, who are actually trans, or who are actually bisexual. So he says, your rhetoric makes people feel bad about themselves and often causes self-harm. By the time someone has developed into an individual who can sense that they are different, sexually or gender-wise, than others, it is far too late to make a change as you suggest. And that's what I'm trying to talk about, is before this even becomes an issue or becomes a problem, that you understand how hormones affect you and your body. If you understood that your hormones affect the thoughts in your head that can actually affect things like depression and anxiety, maybe you would be thinking, maybe these thoughts are because I haven't been physically active in the last week, rather than maybe I need to change my sexuality to fit these thoughts that are in my head. Telling people they can fix their LGBTness by diet is irresponsible and reckless, which I didn't do. Whether nature or nurture or somewhere in between, it's set early and immutable by the time individuals realize they really don't fit into the straight cis social mold. Using anecdotal YouTubers who mock gender identity and what should I be misses the mark of actual experiences by people who truly are conflicted and don't feel their gender aligns with their sex. Again, not with people who I'm talking about. To further complicate your hormone cause of gender identity, you assume a binary only scenario when in actuality people are born intersex, XXY, XYY, and XXYY. All of which impart different outward sex, observable sex characteristics, sometimes with conflicting internal sex organs and possibly blended or binary sexual gender expressions upon reaching adulthood. There are many variables you do not take into consideration for things that people cannot change. Would you tell an intersex person with duplicate sex organs or an XYY person that their sexual or gender identity concerns are simply due to diet? That's not fair to them or their individual worth as an outlier in society. I would be glad to continue this conversation with you one-on-one because maybe as a white cis male, I can help you understand at least part of the issue. But in the meantime, I'm actually going to unsub. I understand it's confusing to those who don't live that experience and not easy to comprehend. Maybe I can be a stepping stone to helping people understand the transgender concerns. I like your tenacity and fervor questioning everything, but I'm not going to reward your channel on this until you tone down the strident tone of your LGBT rhetoric. I hope you'll reach out for a dialogue so I can help you understand the gap in your knowledge. And then you can be an advocate for other gender and sexual minorities, rather than calling them with people with broken bodies hormonally, which is extremely problematic. I hope you'll reach out with thoughtful questions and perhaps I will be able to answer them. Best wishes, James. Now, this is what I mean is that, he displayed everything he wanted to say. Again, a vast majority of it had nothing to do with what I was talking about and discussing in the video. I do not talk about gays, bis, and transgender. I'm talking about people who are one gender, who are questioning and trying to weave themselves way into this high place in society where they get to be called something else. That when they walk into a store, I have to step back and be like, oh, I can't say hello sir or hello ma'am. I have to say, hello, my person. You guys want us to change society. You guys want us to change how we act out there in the world. I have no problem with you wanting to be different. Be different. Change your body. Change your hormones all you want if that's what you want to do. But I shouldn't have to act different out there in the world because you want to be different. I shouldn't have to change the words I say because you are sensitive or you find it offensive. I don't give a fuck what you find offensive. I really don't. This is the beauty of the world we live in, that the beauty of living in a democratic nation. That I can have an opinion and it might be offensive to you. And in that same way, you might have an opinion, it might be offensive to me, which is why I have a right to voice my opinion to the world. So this is exactly why I'm displaying my opinion about your opinion here. So I said here, James, thank you for taking the time to inform me upon key points I may have missed in my video. As you mentioned, I do have the right to have an opinion on this, and so do you. So thank you for taking the time and sharing it with me. It is nice to see people dedicated and passionate about the things they care for in this life. This is what led me upon my own journey. Now, as I mentioned in this video, I questioned myself growing up as a child and a teen. There were times when I didn't know what was what. I never experimented and actually fulfilled anything or questions that were going on in my head. Times in my life I definitely did question them. For myself and for my YouTube journey, all I can do is represent what I want to see in this world. If I want to see things better, I have to be better. I have to be able to discuss these key issues in the world without trying to come off as hurtful and disrespectful, so I apologize if I came off this way. But in that sense, I am a white cis male. And if I want to represent what I want to see in this world, I have to discuss it from that viewpoint. When I was younger, I was glad that I had role models out there who represented what I believe it means to be a man. And this is what I aspire to be. I am experimenting with my life and building skills and knowledge until I become that man. Right now in the world, I see no one discussing these issues unless they are actually involved with it. Or as you say, they live the experience. So, if I'm a young boy or I'm a young teen growing up and I'm questioning my identity and I go to look for help out there in the world and all I see is people who aren't like me, so as you mentioned, XYY or XXYY or gay or trans or whatever people want to label themselves nowadays, discussing and telling me that the thoughts in my head mean that I may never become the man I aspire to be. If all I saw is people out there in the world discussing and telling me the thoughts that are going on in their head, maybe I would have never become the man I aspire to be, because I'm listening to people who are not like me. I would have been wasting precious, prime periods of my life debating trivial things amongst myself rather than going out there in the world and accomplishing by building skills and knowledge. Once again, all I can do is represent what I want to see in this world, and that goes the same for you. From your message to me, you seem very well educated and informed. So why are you wasting time on me? Why are you wasting time sending me a private message that, from the looks of it, took you 20 minutes to write? You should be building up your own following, discussing these key issues, and helping people along their own journey who are related to you and your life factors. I was aware of 90 to about 95% of the issues that you brought up and discussed in your message because I care about the things I talk about. I hated how as I grew up I began to realize how big of a hypocrite most of my role models became now that they are old, and I don't want that to be like me. I seek no reward from those who follow my journey, and I'm not here to be hurtful and disrespectful to those who choose not to follow along my journey. But that does not mean that I am not allowed to formulate my own opinions on issues and then discuss it with my followers and the world. When the next generation goes to question their gender identity and their sexual orientation, they should have the ability to formulate their opinions from many different viewpoints and perspectives, not just a small minority who may be hormonally depleted to go along with it. And I'm sorry, but wasting time trying to reach out to continue this conversation for the extremely problematic gap in my knowledge is just a way for you to nonchalantly turn the tables into a way I can't respond because, as you discussed from the start, I don't live this experience. I do not have those specific issues that you were talking about. I do not have these same issues, so I have nothing more to say besides what I said in that video about hormone depletion and its effects on things like depression, mood, stress, which for young children and teens who are still developing their bodies, it could be a big reason certain thoughts and feelings are coming to them. You want to talk about other aspects, about people who are actually affected and how my thoughts and opinions are hurtful to their lives. You want to talk about small minorities of people who already have people representing and discussing issues from their side and from their experience. If you don't like those who are representing your side, then go be that person. Either way, I'm still gonna be here, representing what I want to see in the world and discussing key issues whether I live that experience or not. Such a closed-minded way of thinking. You are not like me, so you don't get to talk about me. Go back to grade 4, bud. So then he sent me another message saying, Peter, I'm sorry my comment upset you. That was not my intent. The offer for more dialogue is still available if you have questions. I'm glad you are passionate about your work and wish everyone were as committed to their goals. Regards, James. And this is what I mean is like, I don't understand why you want to have a discussion. because you don't want to rebuttal anything I discuss in that video. You want to talk about other things. You want to talk about LGBT. You want to talk about gays, lesbians, and bisexuals. People who actually are this. People who actually are XXY, XYY. I'm talking about the regular everyday person who's questioning these thoughts. Because as I mentioned there, I question these thoughts as well. And just as I said there, if when I went to go search and do research on these thoughts and ideas that I had going on in my head, and every single person was a representation of that, I may be like, wow, maybe I do have a problem in my body. Maybe I am XYY just because I have a thought coming into my head. Rather than maybe because I haven't been physically active, maybe because I haven't had the right nutrition, that these are all cause of hormone imbalances in the body. So that's where I'm coming from. I'm trying to help the majority of people out there in the world, not the small minority of people that already have people representing them, that already have people out there in the world who are going up on major stages like Bruce Jenner or Caitlyn Jenner. You already have people representing that. I'm representing a small minority of people who don't talk about these issues. You don't have straight cis people talking about gender identity. But we need people out there who represent that. We need every kind of aspect. So thank you so much for watching this video, everyone. I hope this was a little informative for you. I know it was a little long, but these discussions need to happen in the world. I need to show how, this type of a person, if I were to actually go and sit down and have a discussion with this person, we would be in this constant loop because he is trying to fight one aspect and I'm trying to fight one aspect. It's not even in a Venn diagram together because he's trying to stand up for these people who are already affected, who are already, have issues with their bodies. I'm trying to question these people who are hormonally depleted and trying to show this young generation as they're growing up that these questions that may be going on in your head, maybe there is a serious issue with you. But maybe, just maybe, it's a fact that you are hormonally depleted and it's something that you actually can change about yourself. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you like what you saw here, maybe you learned something, go hit that like button and of course, leave me a comment. I am the Hungarian Experiment.